Good day, everyone, and I am Dean Rocky Duhungko from the Ascot College of Law, bringing to you the last-minute tips in taxation law. Hindi ko napapatagalin pa dahil alam ko namang busy-busy na kayo sa last-minute preparations for the 2024 bar exam scheduled on September 8. And as promised, thank you ko ito sa inyo kasi nakaabot na tayo ng more than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Kaya if you want to share this video and this channel to your friends who are taking the 2024 bar exam and to law students also kasi syempre magpo-post naman tayo ng mga updates. Please like, share, and subscribe. Paki-share na rin sa inyong mga friends para mas maraming makapanood ng mga videos natin. Alright? So, as a reminder for the 2024 bar exam, paano tayo sasagot? Your answers must be three-tiered. Dapat meron siyang conclusion. Ano yung sagot niyo dun sa tanong? 'Di ba? So, in one sentence, describe your answer na kaagad. Yes, ganito, 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 or no, it's unconstitutional. And then, the next part would be your legal basis. And of course, your legal basis would be based on law and jurisprudence. The bar candidate must be able to state what the law says or what the decision of the Supreme Court is on the particular matter. And then, of course, this must be followed by the argument, which is to show yung reasoning skills ng bar candidate, which is basically the application of the legal basis to the factual circumstances given in the problem. And to expound on this, no, you can watch my video here also on my YouTube channel. Yung title niya, How to Answer the 2024 Bar Exam. Mas ine-explain natin doon paano sumagot at paano sundan itong CLA format. Alright? So, particularly for tax, syempre, meron pa bang mas importante kaysa sa lifeblood theory? When we say lifeblood theory, taxes are the lifeblood of the government and so should be collected without unnecessary hindrance. Their prompt and certain availability is an imperious need. If you are going to be asked, ano ang pinaka-important na word dito sa two sentences na ito? The focus is on collection. So, yung collected ang pinaka-important na word. Kailangan makakolekta ang BIR, no? So, anong ibig sabihin? If the focus is on collection, injunction generally does not lie against the collection of taxes. Kasi nga, yung injection tuloy, injunction, yan ang unnecessary hindrance. Pinipigilan niya ang pagkolekta. Likewise, taxes are generally not subject to compensation or set-off. Kasi pag na-offset yan at nangyari ang compensation, again, walang makokolekta ang BIR. X yun. Diba? Tax exemptions, exclusions, deductions, exceptions, amnesty, diba, are never presumed and should be construed strictly against the taxpayer. Bakit? Again, kailangan makakolekta ng BIR at ng government, di ba? And lastly, the state is not stopped from collecting taxes by reason of mistakes of or errors of its agents. Okay? What are the requisites of a valid tax? Actually, sa book nyo, alam ko, sa mga books nyo, sa reviewers nyo, maraming nakasulat na requisites of a valid tax. Pero, ang pinakamahalaga, if you look at the 2024 bar exam syllabus in taxation, naka-indicate doon mismo sa requisites of a valid tax. Look at Article 6, Section 28 of the 1987 Constitution, which states in the first paragraph that taxes must be uniform and equitable, and Congress is mandated to evolve a progressive system of taxation. It doesn't mean that regressive systems are altogether prohibited. Basta, si Congress, inuutusan lang siya na mag-evolve ng progressive system of taxation. Okay? Paragraph 2 in Article 6, Section 28 tells us about the flexible tariff clause. We all know that taxation as a power is inherently legislative in nature. And there should be no delegation, no? Non-delegation ang isa sa mga limitation or inherent limitation ng taxation. However, in paragraph 2, there is a constitutional delegation of the power of taxation to the executive. The president is empowered to determine certain rates of tariff, di ba? Third, this talks about the tax exemption of assets. Assets lang ha, hindi kasama ang revenue, so meaning property ito. Exempted from real property taxes of religious, charitable, or educational institutions. And last, no, yung paragraph 4 ng Section 28, Article 6. Laws granting tax exemptions must have the concurrence of the majority of all members of Congress. Ibig sabihin, kung kailangan ng tax exemption, majority of all or what we call absolute majority. Hindi siya majority lang ng quorum ha, or what we call relative majority. Dapat absolute majority ng all members of Congress ang needed para makapag-grant ng tax exemption. Actually, there is a question last year, di ba, on this wherein the tax exemption was granted through a presidential proclamation. And the question is whether this presidential proclamation granting the exemption is constitutional. So the answer of the bar candidate must be based on the Constitution also, wherein the answer is no, it's not constitutional, considering that it was granted by the president without, no, di ba nga, ang taxation is inherently legislative, hindi naman executive. Plus, the Constitution provides that tax exemptions can only be granted with the concurrence of the majority of all members of Congress. Okay? Next, on constitutional limitations. Mahalaga ang inherent and constitutional limitations kasi they are the only means by which tax laws can be declared as void. So the only way to challenge a tax law is by raising inherent and constitutional limitations na itong tax law nagko-contravene sa inherent or constitutional limitations. Particularly on exemptions, kakasabi lang natin, assets of religious and charitable institutions are constitutionally exempt from real property taxes under Article 6, Section 28. Pero there's no constitutional exemption for revenues of religious and charitable institutions. Statutory lang under the tax code. Pero constitution, walang exemption of revenues. Okay? But for non-stock, non-profit educational institutions, both revenues and assets of non-stock, non-profit educational institutions actually directly and exclusively used for educational purposes are constitutionally exempt under Article 14, Section 4. So how do we make sense of all this? First, we will have to look at the kind of entity that is being asked in the question. Religious charitable ba yan? Non-stock, non-profit educational institution ba yan? Or does the problem involve a government entity? Kagaya na lang doon sa 2022 at 2023 bar exams, ang tinanong isang government hospital noong 2022, and then noong 2023, LRTA naman ang tinanong, di ba? So mga government entities sila. Okay? So as regards revenues, nakikita nyo naman walang constitutional exemption ang revenue ng religious and charitable. Ang non-stock, non-profit educational institutions, meron as we have discussed. And what is required, ang pinaka-important na word, is that it is used actually directly and exclusively for educational purposes. It doesn't matter if the profit was sourced somewhere else, no? Hindi sa educational activities ng school. Hindi naman source ang pinag-uusapan. Ang pinag-uusapan dito is saan ginamit or whether the profit was actually directly and exclusively used for educational purposes. Pag government entity, no question, kasi inherent limitation ang non-taxability or exemption of government entities from taxation, right? Sa assets naman, ang question dito is exempt ba yung assets or yung entity from real property taxation? Kung religious, charitable, at non-stock, non-profit educational institutions, merong constitutional exemption, 'di ba? Yung religious and charitable nga under Article 6, yung non-stock non-profit educational institution under Article 14. So kung yung assets nila or yung properties nila actually directly and exclusively used for charitable, religious or educational purposes, exempt from real property taxes. Kung government entity, does it need a constitutional exemption? Hindi. Kasi nga, again, it is inherently exempt. No? Exempt na talaga siya. It is an inherent limitation, yung non-taxability of government entities. However, look at the provisions of the Local Government Code, Section 234, enumerating the assets or the properties that are exempt from real property taxation. Sabi doon, assets of the Republic are exempt from real property taxation except when the beneficial use thereof has been transferred, whether for consideration or otherwise, so kahit walang bayad whether for consideration or otherwise to a taxable person. So kung hindi na yung Republic ang gumagamit, edi masasubject na siya ngayon sa real property taxes. Okay? Next, on gross income, no? Section 32 is very inclusive, no? Gross income means gross income or means all income derived from whatever source. Kahit legal or illegally sourced, pasok sa gross income. Income refers to all wealth which flows into the taxpayer other than mere return of capital. So, ibig sabihin, dapat may tubo. Kasi kung capital lang ang bumalik sa'yo, walang income. Pero anything that flows into the taxpayer above and beyond the mere return of capital, yan ang tinatawag nating income. Remember last year, merong question sa 2023 bar about Pedro, who is running an illegal gambling den. Pedro said he is not required to file an income tax return. Diba? Is Pedro's argument tenable? And the answer is no. Because gross income means all income derived from whatever source, kahit illegal pa yan. Dapat i-declare ni Pedro yung kanyang income, even from his illegal activities. Okay? Next. After gross income, meron naman tayong allowable deductions. Because deductions are construed strictly against the taxpayer, we must look at the requisites for deductibility. Absent any one of the requisites, dapat disallowed yung deduction. All the requisites must be met for deductibility to apply. No? So what are the requisites? Number one, expenses must be ordinary and necessary. Second, it must be paid or incurred during the taxable year. Third, it must be directly attributable to the development, management, operation, and or conduct of trade, business, or exercise of a profession. Fourth, it must be substantiated with sufficient evidence. And fifth, it must have been subjected to withholding taxes, if applicable. No? Nakikita nyo dito, repealed under EOPT. But for purposes of the 2024 bar exam, hindi kasama ang EOPT. So therefore, i-consider pa rin natin itong fifth requisite. Alright? Last year may tanong, no? So, sabi doon, an intern who was tasked with making coffee for a news organization was paid a 2 million peso bonus kasi anak siya nung owner. Okay? So, the question is whether this 2 million peso bonus paid to the intern is an allowable deduction from the income of the news corporation. One-person corporation yon. Okay? And the answer is no. Paying the intern a 2 million peso bonus na nagtitimpla lang ng kape is not an ordinary nor necessary expense. Neither is it directly attributable to the development management operation of the business. So, absent these two requisites, the payment of the bonus is not a deductible expense. Okay? So now we go to this case of CIR versus COMELEC, which explains to us the concept of withholding taxes. No? So COMELEC entered into a contract with Smartmatic. Alam naman natin yon, for the lease of electronic voting machines. So what the BIR did was to tell COMELEC, dapat winidholdan mo yung payments mo kay Smartmatic, yung lease payments mo. According to COMELEC, hey, I am a government entity. I am exempt from all taxes, direct or indirect, personal or impersonal, relative to the conduct of the automated election. So, hindi ako dapat mag-withhold. And likewise, sabi ni Comelec, subjecting my payments to Smartmatic to withholding taxes would mean tataasan pa ng mga bidders yung kanilang bid para makover yung withholding taxes. So, sabi ng COMELEC, indirectly, matataksan ako nun. Sabi ng Supreme Court, COMELEC is mistaken. Why? Withholding tax is a method of collecting income tax in advance, wherein the payee, which in this case is Smartmatic, di ba? Kasi binayaran ni COMELEC si Smartmatic, the payee is the taxpayer, the person on whom the tax is imposed, while the payer, which in this case is COMELEC, acts no more than an agent of the government for the collection of the tax. So ano ba ang purposes ng withholding tax system? Number one, to provide taxpayers a more convenient manner to meet their probable income tax liability. Number two, to ensure the collection of income tax. And number three, to improve the government's cash flow. So, ibig sabihin nito, withholding tax is intended to facilitate the collection of income tax. Therefore, unless the income recipient, yung payee, which is Smartmatic, is exempt from income tax, the payer is generally required to deduct. Wala namang kinalaman yung tax exemption ni COMELEC. Ang titignan dito is whether tax exempt ba si Smartmatic. 'Di ba? So here, the lease contract payments to Smartmatic are not exempt from the requirement of withholding. Okay? Next on estate tax. Remember guys, transfer taxes are making a comeback in the 2024 bar exam. So at least know the basic principles for estate taxes and donors taxes. Look at this. Sabi sa section 85, 'di ba? Yung decedent include all properties, whether real, personal, tangible, intangible, wherever situated. However, it's only in the case of a non-resident alien wherein only properties located within the Philippines are to be included in the gross estate. So, baliktad siya ng income tax, di ba? Kasi dito, sa non-resident alien lang, yung included ang within. Pero kung citizen ka, whether resident or not, and likewise, if you're a resident alien, all properties wherever situated within and without kasama sa gross estate. Okay? Important principle here, valuation is at the time of death, meaning valuation of the properties to be included in the gross estate. Why is time of death important? Di ba alam naman natin sa succession, no? Succession happens at the time of death, meaning estate taxes likewise accrues at the or accrue at the time of death. Hindi pa siya payable ha, kasi ang payable one, ang pagiging payable at filing ng estate tax return is 1 year after. Pero yung pag-accrue or magiging pag-attach ng estate taxes on the succession is at the time of death. Therefore, anong makukuha natin dito? Valuation of the properties to be included in the gross estate must be at the time of death. Second, the prevailing laws at the time of death will govern the succession and the computation of estate taxes. Alright? When it comes to donor's tax, no, there are two types of donations. One is a direct donation where donative intent is necessary. The second one is an indirect donation wherein it considers transfers for insufficient consideration. Generally, transfers for insufficient consideration will be subject to donor's taxes. Bakit ka naman kasi magbebenta ng mababa sa fair market value? However, under Section 100, unless it is a bona fide and arm's length transaction, meaning hindi relatives or hindi magka-relate yung parties, right? Hindi, if it's a bona fide transaction and it is done at arm's length, therefore it is not subject to donor's taxes. Same with estate tax is the value of the property at the time of the donation, which will be used as basis for the computation of donors' taxes. Some things to remember: contributions for election campaigns are not governed by the tax code but by the Omnibus Election Code. A donor's tax is not a property tax but it is a privilege tax imposed on the transfer of property by gift inter vivos or habang buhay pa yung transferor. In the next slide, we will study the requirements for a donation to be valid under the Civil Code and the effect of a general renunciation of an heir of his or her share. Meaning, sabi lang ni heir, hindi ko nakukunin yung share ko sa estate, no? That is not subject to donor's taxes. Kahit by reason of such general renunciation, lumaki yung share ng ibang heirs, di ba? However, if there is a specific renunciation by an heir in favor of another person, so sabi ni heir, ay, hindi ko nakukunin yung share ko sa estate. Ibigay nyo na lang kay bunso. So, ibig sabihin, merong specific renunciation, right? That is subject to donor's taxes. Alright? So, ano ba ang requisites ng valid donation? The donor must have capacity to make the donation. And there must be donative intent and delivery. What's important also is that the donee must accept or consent to the donation. Diba? And the donation must be executed using the proper form. Depende yan kung movable property or immovable. Do check the provisions of the Civil Code on this. Bakit? In the 2020-2021 Best Bar Ever, may tanong on donation or donor's taxes. Now, whether the transaction is subject to donor's tax. But the answer really, or the question is answerable by stating the requisites of a valid donation. Kasi doon sa problem na binigay sa Best Bar Ever, walang acceptance by the donee. So, there being no acceptance, there is no donation, there is no donor's tax. Right? Next, for a tax assessment, what are the requisites? First, there must be a valid letter of authority stating the period to be audited, kinds of taxes to be examined, and the names of the revenue officers who are authorized to conduct the audit. If the audit is done by revenue examiners who are not named in the letter of authority, void yung assessment. Okay? Second, preliminary assessment notice, but do note of the instances under Section 228 for when a PAN is not required. No? Dapat alam niyo yan, yung mga mathematical error, etc., etc. Okay? Third, there must be a formal letter of demand and final assessment notice, and this must state the facts, the law, the rules, and regulations on which the assessment is made. And last but not the least, the FLD fund must be issued within the prescribed period. Ito namang requisites na ito must all be there for the assessment to be considered as valid. Absent one of the requisites, void yung assessment. Na in the Best Bar Ever, again, natanong yung regarding the prescriptive period. Because in the Best Bar Ever, the question involved a final assessment notice being issued beyond the 3-year prescriptive period. So the question is the assessment valid? And the answer is no, it's not valid because the assessment was issued beyond the 3-year prescriptive period. Okay? Pwede bang i-waive yung 3-year prescriptive period? Yeah. Sorry, dito muna tayo sa prescription period. Ano ba yung prescription period? Guys, note that there are different prescription periods for assessment and collection. The assessment must happen within 3 years from whichever is later between the due date or filing date, whichever is later. No? However, in case there is fraud, or in case of a false return, or in case of failure to file a return, magiging 10 years yung period of assessment after the discovery of the falsity, fraud, or failure to file the return, no? There is a different prescription period for collection. So, ibig sabihin, kahit nakapag-assess ng tama ang BIR, kung di naman sila nakapag-collect, mapapaso din yon. Diba? They must be able to collect within the prescribed period also. For regular assessments, prescriptive period for collection is 3 years, counted from the date of assessment. And for extraordinary assessments, no, the collection must be done within 5 years. So if i-combine natin, for regular assessments, the prescriptive period is 3 plus 3. Pero kung extraordinary assessment, it's going to be 10 plus 5. Alright? Pwede bang i-waive ang mga prescriptive period? Yes, but these requisites must be complied with. The waiver should be executed before the expiration of the period to assess. Second, the waiver shall be signed by the taxpayer himself or his duly authorized representative. And in case of a corporation, the waiver must be signed by any of the responsible officials. And third, the new expiration date agreed upon to assess or collect the tax after the regular 3-year period should be indicated. Alright? Okay, sabihin na natin valid yung assessment. And let's say, nakapag-protest na si taxpayer. When can the taxpayer elevate the case to the courts? No? At saan? Remember guys, if the question is asking for a procedure, dalawang importanteng aspect yan. It's either the question is asking for the period, the reglementary or prescriptive period, hanggang kailan pwede itong remedy na ito. And second, yung jurisdiction or venue, meaning saang court ba or administrative agency dapat i-file itong remedy na ito, right? So in case of inaction by the BIR, the remedy of the taxpayer is, well, dalawang option. Number 1, to appeal to the CTA within 30 days from the lapse of the 180-day period of the BIR to decide. Yung option 2 is wait for the final decision of the commissioner, yung final decision on the disputed assessment or FDDA. And appeal to the CTA within 30 days from the receipt of the FDDA. Please take note, these two options are mutually exclusive, meaning exercising option 1 will preclude the availability to exercise option 2. Hindi na pwede. Kung hindi in-exercise ang option 1, okay lang. Pwede pang i-exercise ang option 2. Next, so itong tax assessment, ang case natin dito would be the case of People versus Mendez, a 2023 case, pasok sa cut-off, penned by our bar chair, Justice Lopez himself. So ano ang mga issues sa case na ito? Ang facts nitong case na to, in two separate informations, Dr. Joel Mendez was charged with the violation of Section 255 of the Tax Code for failure to file an ITR for the year 2002 and failure to supply correct and accurate information for the taxable year 2003. So parang may issue ngayon sa jurisdiction may seeming conflict sa jurisdiction ng RTC at CPA because of the passage of Republic Act 11576 back in 2021, increasing the jurisdiction of the first level courts. So how do we reconcile this? No? Appellate jurisdiction of the RTC and the CTA are reconciled as follows. For the exclusive original jurisdiction over tax collection cases, di ba, if 1 million pesos or more, sa CTA ang filing. If less than 1 million pesos, sa MPC or first level courts ang filing. Meaning, ang choice mo for original jurisdiction would just be the CTA and the first level courts. Walang RTC. Right? Either i-file mo sa MTC or sa CTA. Okay? Kailan lang papasok ang RTC? The RTC can only exercise exclusive appellate jurisdiction over tax collection cases originally decided by the first level court. So, kung halimbawa, talo sa first level court, yung natalong party can appeal to the RTC. Papasok lang ang RTC by exercising appellate jurisdiction. Same is true for criminal offenses or felonies. Kung ang principal amount niyan 1 million pesos or more, sa CTA ang filing. Kung less than 1 million, sa proper first level court. And again, the RTC can only exercise exclusive appellate jurisdiction ng mga cases galing sa MTC. Alright? It must be emphasized, however, that the foregoing clarification shall apply only to cases filed upon the effectivity of RA 11576 or August 21, 2021, since the jurisdiction over the subject matter in criminal cases is determined by the statute in force at the time of the commencement of the action. Okay? Sabi rin sa case na to, the BIR can use estimates in determining the amount of deficiency taxes. This case likewise reiterated an old principle that the filing of a criminal action for the violation of a tax law does not require an assessment. An assessment is also not a prerequisite to a judgment for civil liability for unpaid taxes in the same criminal action. Pwede silang mag-proceed independently and distinctly from each other, di ba? Bakit? Kasi ang violation, ang criminal violations ng tax code are considered mala prohibita. So, the prosecution only needs to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt and the amount of tax liability. Okay? So, ito, what happens if there is a simultaneous filing of criminal and civil case? No? This is very important, guys, ha? When a criminal action for violation of the tax law is filed, again, a prior assessment is not required. Neither is a final assessment a precondition to the collection of delinquent taxes in a criminal case. Kakasabi lang natin. So, ibig sabihin nito, the government must prove only two things. First, the guilt of the accused beyond reasonable doubt, and two, the amount of civil liability for taxes by competent evidence. Pero, if before the institution of the criminal action, meron ng civil suit for collection, or an answer to the taxpayer's petition for review before the CTA, anong mangyayari? Meron ng ganon. The civil action shall be suspended before judgment on the merits until final judgment is rendered in the criminal action. So, isuspend mo na yung civil action, magpo-proceed ang criminal action. However, before judgment on the merits is rendered in the civil action, it's possible that the two cases will be consolidated. So, consolidated yung civil at yung criminal action. In such a case, the judgment in the criminal action shall include a finding of the accused's civil liability for unpaid taxes. Alright? Kung tunog familiar, yes, ito yung Rule 111. No? Medyo doon siya galing. Rule 111 of the Rules of Court. Okay? So, ito, overview ng remedies. Guys, just a reminder, no, if you want to watch the video on remedies and CTA jurisdiction, I expounded on this table in that video. Panoorin nyo yun. Ang pinakamabibilin ko sa inyo, don't mix and match. Consider the prescriptive periods, what happens in the administrative stage, and what happens in the judicial stage of the proceeding. So, don't mix and match yung mga row, ha? Kung ang tinanong sa problem, internal revenue taxes, meaning ang nag-assess ay BIR, follow the row on that, no? So, the BIR has 3 years to make the assessment and another 3 years to make the collection. After the issuance of the final assessment notice, the taxpayer has 30 days to file the protest, and the BIR has 180 days to decide on the case. Para pumasok ng judicial stage, merong 2 options as we have discussed earlier. For local taxes, under na ito ng Local Government Code. Hindi na siya under ng NIRC. The LGU has 5 years to make the assessment and another 5 years for the collection. Upon issuance of the local treasurer of the Notice of Assessment or NOA, the taxpayer has 60 days to file the protest and the local treasurer has only 60 days to decide on the case. No? And then the judicial stage, look, hindi siya mangyayari sa CTA. The taxpayer may file an appeal with the MTC or RTC depending on the 2 million peso jurisdictional amount, di ba? Under RA 11576 within 30 days from the lapse of the 60-day period or receipt of the decision if earlier than 60 days, pwede na siyang mag-elevate sa MTC or RTC. No? And then last, kung real property taxes naman, yung mga amilyar, collection is due within 5 years from the due date. Ang particular sa real property taxes, meron tayong rule on payment under protest. Bayad ka muna bago mag-protest. Once a payment under protest is made, the taxpayer has 30 days from the time of payment to file his protest. The local treasurer has 60 days to decide before the case is elevated to the LBAA and CBAA. After that, punta na tayo sa CTA and bank. Alright? So again ha, don't mix and match. Apply the proper role to the given facts in the problem. Huwag niyong paghalu-haluin. Okay? Next, sabi natin kanina sa lifeblood doctrine, courts are not empowered to grant an injunction against the collection of taxes. Even Section 218 of the NIRC expressly provides that no court shall have the authority to grant an injunction to restrain the collection of any national internal revenue tax. Pero may exception sa rule na ito, as provided under Section 11 of Republic Act 1125 as amended, no? Only when in the opinion of the Court of Tax Appeals. So doon lang pwede mag-file ng injunction ha. Only when in the opinion of the Court of Tax Appeals, the collection thereof may jeopardize the interest of the government and or the taxpayer will an injunction be issued. Alright? And last slide, no? Ano mangyayari kung talo ka sa CTA and gusto mo pa mag-appeal sa Supreme Court? This is governed by Section 19 of RA 1125 as amended. A party adversely affected by a decision or ruling of the CTA and bank. Meaning, kung galing ka ng CTA division, pwede ka pa mag-appeal sa CTA and bank. It's only when talo ka pa rin sa CTA and bank, tsaka ka aakyat ng Supreme Court through a verified petition for review on certiorari pursuant to Rule 45 of the 1997 Rules on Civil Procedure. And that's it, guys. 1 week to go. Best of luck in the bar exams. I hope you finish the race. Finish strong. Good luck and good health in the bar exams. If you want to catch more of my lectures, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dean Rocky's Lectures. I am on Twitter and TikTok. Nasa TikTok na rin ako. Using the handle at What Rocky Thinks. So, thank you and God bless. Kayang-kaya nyo lang yan.